I didn't hit record, though. That was not recorded. That's a nice way to start. Oh, yeah? Should we talk about Uber fuck? Should we start with that, Mr. Mad Scientist? That could have been more the route it took to get there. I said, hey, Dan, because Dan's in Montreal right now. I said, how is Colton, Dan's son? And then Dan responded, well, we delivered Colton's girlfriend to him. That was very nice. And I went, oh, that's kind of an interesting service. Girlfriend delivery. One girlfriend for Colton, very innocent. And then Fred all of a sudden goes, this would be a great business. Why don't we call it Uber Fuck? And that's how the day began. That's how our day began. How about you all?
Welcome to our four-banger.
That's right. It's a four-banger. Go ahead, Fred.
Dan, what are you drinking? Something, it looks very Montrealish.
Yes, I've got a little espresso on the go here. Yeah, a little espresso.
Hold on, back up. Does Fred not have any reaction to his genius of Uber Fuck?
Howard, I'm sorry, I don't recall that happening.
All right. All right, Trump.
Disavow any knowledge.
All right, Trump. People are saying...
I'm sorry, I do not recall.
We will be talking about Trump today. The last couple of weeks, we haven't talked about him at all. I mean, we've said we haven't talked about him. We've only mentioned him in passing.
Yeah. But he's done so much over the week.
So much over the weekend.
So much for us.
So Dan's drinking coffee out of a fancy, clear coffee mug.
Tiny espresso mug.
And it does elevate the coffee experience, does it not?
It does to me, especially that first hit in the morning. If it comes out of a nice little espresso machine, and then you're sipping a high intensity coffee from a small little thing, it just feels right starting the day.
So that's right in your room.
Yes,
you can make an espresso coffee right in your room.
Yes,
that's excellent.
That's the kind of room that.
Where's Lisa right now?
She's having a shower or something. She's getting ready for her day.
Oh, is she?
We're here. Yesterday was last when we got here, we delivered Colton's girlfriend Vanessa.
Girlfriend delivery service.
Yes, and that was on our dime, but now it's business for Lisa. So it's all business. So she's getting ready for business.
So what? Are you staying in the same hotel?
No, we changed. Because this one's a business hotel.
Oh, okay.
We were paying for it, so we...
So the one you were paying for was like a Super 8, where they have the buffet?
Yeah.
So what was it?
It was a little Airbnb down on Saint Denis.
And how was it?
It was great. It was very small, but it was just charming. And you walk right out the door, and there's, all the stuff going on in Saint Denis. It was very, very lovely.
I used to live right around there, Dan.
Did you?
I did live right around Saint Denis.
Yeah.
And what did you pay for that?
I think it was $200 all in.
Oh, that's not bad nowadays.
Yeah.
What was the all in? All in like Airbnb fees and taxes
and all that stuff.
Cleaning fees.
Yeah, your fees.
Yeah, but it's downtown. If that's semi downtown Montreal, $200 a night is pretty good. It's very good.
Yeah. And we put on 15,000 steps or something that day, just wandering around everywhere as we did yesterday.
Well, the weather was spectacular. Even in Montreal, it was spectacular.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sunny days, both days.
Yeah, I had written that down. I don't know if Dan's, ready for a weather discussion. I never know anymore if there's a certain subjects that will turn Dan off. But trigger Dan.
Trigger me.
The weather was so beautiful, and today this stretch from last week to Wednesday coming up this week is really something. It's going to be 24 degrees here in Toronto today. Mm-hmm. Same for tomorrow. Yesterday was unbelievable. I've been wearing shorts. Were you wearing shorts this weekend, Frederick?
Actually, no.
Okay.
No.
Actually, no, Howard.
No, it's just... I went golfing Friday afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
And thought I'm going to wear pants just in case it gets cool. I could have wore shorts, but it was fine. And then Saturday I went to the Argonauts game and I wore pants because down by the water I thought it might get cool. It didn't. And then yesterday I was in a hockey arena, so I wore pants. So no, Howard, to give you a full answer, like I just did, no, for various reasons.
Dan, what about your pants shorts journey? over the last few days?
I've been, as a touring dude.
As a touring dude,
yes. I've been wearing pants.
Because you need to wear pants to tour.
Yeah. Going in and out of places. You don't know what the weather's going to turn. If it gets a little cloudy, that's yeah. But,
well, for me, I was golfing many of those days.
Now, that's surprising.
Oh.
You golf a lot, eh?
And I wore... I think I've been in shorts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and will continue to be in shorts, although I do know what you mean about... I wore slacks at night. I wore pants in the evening as I was out and about, some dinners and things like that. But, yesterday especially seemed... I don't know, we were at a golf course yesterday, my friend and I, and we were wearing shorts, and it was just beautiful. And even the wind was warm, weirdly warm.
I read an article about the fall colors this year.
Yes.
They're not as spectacular as they have been.
And why is that?
Because of the warmer weather. Because it's been warm. But there's, it's putting on a good show. There's a lot of leaves that have come down on trees that, just didn't turn at all. But there's others that are, there's some reds in there.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan.
Lisa didn't believe me that out west, I told her that we, out west growing up, we didn't see reds. It's mostly yellows out west.
Oh, I can't recall. It's been so long. It's funny. It's funny you can remember that, but you can't remember how old you are.
That's true. Some things stick in your mind, others not so important, right?
Fred, what were you going to say? Did you have a comment on the shorts pants discussion?
No. I mean, Friday was a beautiful day weather-wise and everything, and I went golfing with my son,
Danny boy,
and our friend, and it turned out to be a little bit sour, actually. The gentleman's game turned a little ungentlemanly.
You got some people were fighting amongst one another?
No, we're worse than that. So back in June, my son, it was around his birthday, he decided to buy himself a putter, and he spent a lot of money on it. And so we get there early, and he's up on the putter and, the chipping thing and the putting green. And then we go to leave to go to the first hole, and we get to the first hole. And he goes, oh, I forgot my putter. So he goes back to get his putter, and within 10 minutes, somebody had scooped it. Didn't turn it in.
That's too bad.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't recall the putter he bought. I think he and I were talking about it. But if it was the brand name of the putter, I think it is. Was it a Scotty Cameron? Did he mention?
Oh, I don't know. Ping, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Only because they're very expensive.
Yes.
More than most people would.
How expensive when you're talking about
$450. Between three, well, it depends. I mean, they're not all that expensive, but the really, really high-end ones are close to $500. So when somebody sees a putter like that, I'm surprised, but kind of not surprised.
Well, that's it. And we pretty much know who did it.
What?
There was this big... Oh, yeah, but what do you do? We were on the chipping green, and there was one other guy there. This big, burly, trucker-looking guy. And not awful. But big, And when Danny went back, he was still there because his tee-off was at like a 140 and ours was at 110. He was still there, and Danny went up and said, oh, bud, I left my putter. Did you see it? Nope, I didn't see it. Nope. So then he went and told the clubhouse, did anyone turn it in? No. And then later on, I saw this big burly guy, and I went up to him, and I just said, oh, so you didn't see the putter, eh? Anybody else around? He goes, yeah. He said, the only other guy that was there the whole time that your son had gone was a greenskeeper, so you might want to ask them. But it was pretty obvious.
And you didn't kind of on the down low go look in his bag? That's a golf term.
Well, Danny did. Danny looked in his bag, but he must have shuffled it right. Like, why would he do that? He probably shuffled it right over to his car, right?
So that is too bad.
Yeah, he was quite upset, as you can imagine, because it was a little sentimental and...
Well, yeah, really, and those things are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's a pretty good pre-show. We covered a lot of stuff. We haven't even started the show, and we're kind of easing our way into it because, as it's been mentioned, this is the beginning of the first 4-day week we've done since before it was summer, and now here it is in whatever they call this season is like second summer, fall, summer, whatever we call it. But let's get Dan Duran. If you are able, Dan, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, here we go.
This episode of Humble and Fred is being broadcast to the world from our state-of-the-art Humble and Fred studio in Toronto, from our Brampton facility featuring a now-closed prestigious pool, and from Lisa's hotel room in Old Montreal. I'm Dan Duran, broadcasting live from the Dave Powery Zoom Theater, and brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. And now, here are two men who are staying away from retail due to the Halloween plus Christmas and American Thanksgiving sensory overload. It's Humble and Fred.
Yeah, very well done, Dan. Of course, usually we don't have any guests on Monday, but we're going to squeeze somebody in. And just a quick note. We had talked about, changing the name to the legendary Humble and Fred Show.
Oh, right. Right.
We've had this author on before. David Eisenstadt is a author. He's got a couple of interesting books out. Last time we talked to him, it's called Musicians Under the Radar, 42 notable Canadian Jewish performers. We'll have that discussion much later in the program. Dan mentioned he's in Lisa's hotel room in Old Montreal. I have very fond memories of Old Montreal. I have fond memories of Montreal in general. I wasn't there a long time, but it's one of those places that does leave an indelible mark on you. And it's one of those things where, and I think I overheard you guys when I came back in the studio talking about its relative size. It's not a very big city. Like the actual island of Montreal isn't very big in terms of mass.
Yeah, it's pretty crunchy here. The thing I noticed that I hadn't noticed before is how much construction there is around here.
Montrealers will tell you that it's been like that forever. It's always under construction.
Do you mean road construction?
Road construction, and there's lots of other construction, but the high-rise construction that you're blocking lanes, and it's like it's a warren of you have to really focus when you're driving. Here's something I didn't know. Howard, was this the way it was before? Because I don't remember this in the past. So you pull into an intersection and you want to turn left on a green light, but the way they mark it is that if it's got a straight arrow. So you're turning left, but there's a straight arrow that comes up first, and you're not supposed to turn on that straight arrow. You're supposed to wait until the light turns all green without that arrow.
That I do not know, but I'm not sure. I'll ask you this: you still can't turn right on a red light there.
That is correct too. Yeah. And then there's the crosswalks or have countdowns on them, and there's zero. It's all a little bit confusing, and so you really have to focus. You could,
When's the last time you were there, Fred, man?
Oh, I would say it's got to be 15 years, at least. I think.
Yeah, same for
the last time. Yeah, I went to a Leaf game years ago, but I haven't been back.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking about that as I was coming downstairs, listening to Dan talk about Montreal, the Vieux-Port, the old area, and it's been so long. I can't recall the last time I was there. It might have been over 15 years, and I can't remember why I was there. But I think maybe I was taking a little trip to Montreal. It's been a long time.
Yeah, bring your
friends and family.
Bring your friends and bring your friend.
I will bring my friend.
Yeah.
Who turned? Go ahead, Fred.
No, I was going to say the last time I was there, I was in a cab with a racist cab driver. And I challenged him, and he told me to get out of his cab. He stopped and told me to get out of his cab. And you recommended a place for dinner, and this is how long ago it was. I could hardly enjoy my dinner because of the cigarette smoke right in the restaurant.
It wasn't Schwartz. No, I mean it wasn't.
It was the steakhouse,
Montreal Steakhouse, or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Moishes.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yes, Howard. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was there. Yeah, somewhere in the last 15 years I've been there. I was this past weekend, celebrated my friend's birthday. She had a birthday, turned 60.
Wow, a youngster.
Yeah, just a kid.
Mm-hmm. Milestone.
Yeah, it was we had a lot of fun, birthday times, exciting. Went out for dinner. Went golfing together, which is kind of a fun thing for me. Being able to golf with somebody that I'm dating. She's pretty good.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
It's so much. I've never had that experience before where, we go to the golf course, we hang out. She likes to warm up and hit balls, and when we played 9 holes, she's right into it, and yeah, it's quite something for me.
Did you give her some golf tips?
I just give her a little. I don't go overboard with anybody. Mm-hmm. I just kind of give her a little gentle. But she's very good. She's you'd not. I wouldn't say you'd be impressed. You would be, but you wouldn't be. She's not a beginner, is what I'm trying to say. She's been playing a long time.
Where did you go for dinner?
Went to a little restaurant right around where Dan Duran used to live, over there in the Bloor West Village, around Jane and Bloor. Mm-hmm. Just a little neighborhood restaurant.
Was it good?
It was very, very good. Not the place I'm going to take you when we do our dinner with the Tunes people, which we need to book. But it was very good. A very sweet dinner and all kinds of fun and birthday surprises.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
After the Argonaut game, on the subject of going out in restaurants, after the Argonaut game, we went up to Liberty Village to have a bite to eat, the group of us. And
who was the group? You, Doll?
No,
Doll.
Me, my son, my grandson, which was beautiful. Wow. Buddy Doug, his son, and his son's girlfriend. So 6 of us. And we went around. We went to what's the place called? The Local. It was full. And then we went to the left field. It was full. So we end up at this place called The Craft. Mm-hmm. And you go in, and it's just amazing, that whole area, right? It's become its own little community. We've talked about this before. It's just crazy. And, when you're my age, and I remember that area as a kid, it was just rail yards and dust and factories and dirty. And now this beautiful community. Anyway, this place called the Craft, we went in, and it was robust, and it was beautiful and fantastic looking, and there was lots of people there, and you thought, wow, somebody's invested a lot in this. Mm-hmm. And then you order the food, and it's just bleh.
Really?
It's remarkable. I got the lamb burger, and I couldn't wait till I got it, and it was just there. You know what I mean? Danny got wings. They were cold and not really crispy at all. And anyway, it was.
Isn't that the threshold when you send it back? Say,
he could. I told him to. He could have. The burger, I really couldn't send back because it was what it is, or it is what it was.
This is the way we make
it. It was. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, those places, because you were kidding me last week about I go out for dinner a lot, and I do. Mm-hmm. The place I went to was and the place we're going to take you. I don't tend to go to those kind of restaurants. Not that that's a
right. No,
not that it's
a
chain restaurant, but it's more of a. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the word is industrial or more corporate kind of vibe. And I love Liberty Village. I spent a lot of time there, and the Local and all those other places are fine, but they all basically have that kind of food. It's not outstanding. It's pretty good. It's not great, but the place that we went for dinner on Saturday night is a little neighborhood place. It's seated maybe 40 or 50 people, and it's so those places tend to be a little cut above, and it wasn't expensive. The entree was in the mid-20s.
Yeah, this place out of 10, you would say like 5.5. When you get the impression they're just giving you the food to give it to you, not. There didn't seem to be any mind to value. When people sit here and eat our food, they're going to go away going, "Whoa, that was Nice.
But I don't know this place in particular, but a lot of those places, and one of the reasons I don't go to them is because a lot of it is you're paying for the vibe, you're paying for the setting, you're paying for the fact that it's filled, and I'm going to guess filled with a lot of younger, very good-looking people. That whole Liberty Village vibe. Dan, I don't know when the last time you've been down there, but there's a sort of a 25 to 40-year-old group of human beings.
Yeah, I felt too old there.
That's exactly it. Whereas what we had was just so good. It was small. And I had this clam. We both had the same thing. It was their special. It was clam, not risotto, but a risotto type of a type of pasta, like a round pasta, almost like beads of pasta. But it was so good, really flavorful. And it's the opposite of what you said. It was high value for they really wanted you to. It was the kind of place where there's only a few people working there. So they want you to love their food.
And it's the comeback factor. If you're a little independent guy, and you're tucked away in a little neighborhood or something like that, you need to do that to get the people to keep coming back. Liberty Village, I mean, you've sort of captured this crowd, right? Be it for sporting events or all those condos. And I don't know, just major compromise, like just weird. And like Buddy Doug got the jerk chicken tacos, and he thought there would be like hunks of like jerk chicken in it. But it was like shaved chicken and then cooked, which became chewy, and then almost like the sauce was an afterthought, and it was not good.
Yeah, we had an appetizer of beef carpaccio that I'm not really, I haven't eaten it a lot of, but it was amazing. The other appetizer we had was mushroomed. Dan, you would have loved it. So would you. It was mushroom toast, like a nice, almost like a sourdough type of bread, piece of toast covered in these mushrooms and this sauce. It was really something. Why are you laughing? What are you?
No, it sounds good.
Dan's like, are we had enough now? Dan's like, okay.
No, well, a little bit, but it's kind of back and forth.
That's exactly what it is. He's like,
here's how bad mine is.
And I'm giving him this is what the conversation is. The counter. It's counterpoint on our entrees.
Right, and to be fair, like Johnny Slapshot had a chicken sandwich in a can. He's 11 years old and he eats like an animal these days. It's amazing. Like I take him to the game and he gets these like buffalo chicken fingers, a huge amount of fries. He eats that. Like 2 hours later, I said, "What do you want?" Right. He says he wants this chicken sandwich with sweet potato fries. And I said, "You want more chicken?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "How was it?" It was good, Papa. But again, he's 12 years old. He'll eat anything at this point.
Exactly.
And but like I talked about that chicken sandwich I had at Kelsey's a few weeks ago, and it was excellent. And obviously, certain restaurants, say it's hit and miss. You can order one thing and it's great. You order something else and it's lousy. So.
Just a quick note here. Your audio is fantastic, but your video seems a bit blurred, or I can't explain it. It's like you're just a bit out of focus.
Spit on the lens or something?
Yeah, your lens is a little bit.
I don't know.
You're focusing on.
But you're out of focus.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. Like it's out of arm's length. So.
All right. Oh. I will tell you one of the best things I ate all weekend, though. Dan, I know you're tired of the food talk. Let me just give one more thing. Now, I'm not, as you know, Dan, I play a lot of golf, and I almost never eat.
At the club?
Golf course, like hot dogs, and I mean, I'll have a sandwich once in a while, but I almost never eat a lot of golf course food. But I was taken somewhere on Friday, and I was a guest at this club. Pretty exclusive place. I won't tell you what the name of it, but it's pretty cool. And one of the things they offer there, that's on offer, as you would say, is a hot dog, but it's called a whistle dog. And I can't explain exactly why it was called a whistle dog, but it was a hot dog baked inside a wrap, or like it was grilled first and then put inside a wrap. And inside the wrap was cheese and bacon. I know it was so good. Like I can't explain it. It was the first hot dog I've had all summer. But god damn, it was so good. Just the way they grilled it first, and then they put it in the thing, and then they melt the cheese and the bacon around the hot dog. God damn it! It was something else.
Generally, I think a whistle dog is a hot dog with cheese.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What's a hot dog wrapped?
What they do with a whistle dog, they'll split the wiener down the middle and then put cheese in it and melt it into the thing. I think that's a whistle dog.
Dan, what was your question?
Well, what's the thing when they wrap it with dough, cornmeal?
Oh, that's a corn dog. Yeah.
Oh, corn dog.
This was not a corn dog. Before we leave food, Dan, do you have any highlights of your tourist time in Montreal? Was there a meal that you had in Old Montreal or New Montreal or any Montreal?
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but there's a market of farmers market really close to where my son Colton lives called the Marché Jean Talon.
Oh yeah, Jean Talon, Marché
Jean Talon. It was, and there's a October festival because it's harvest season with all the stuff coming in and the cheeses, and there's this store just with spices in it that was like one of those. It was just amazing that we bought some sort of cauliflower that was purple just because it was purple.
Did you eat it?
Wow, not yet. We're taking it.
Oh,
back.
You're taking it home.
Importing it into
Ontario. I don't know that's cauliflower.
That whole French thing. When are they going to give up on that? And just
that's ridiculous.
Hey, that hotel you're in now, what are you allowed to say? What brand is that hotel?
Yeah, sure. It's a Hotel Place des Armes. I'm bad with French.
What are we per night there?
Yeah, I know.
What are we per night there?
I think this room is the corporate rate that they have is around $350 plus.
Wow!
Ouch!
Jesus,
somewhere in there.
Jesus.
And we're like a kitty corner across from Notre Dame. So it's just across the square from Notre Dame.
I pay $350 for a hotel room. I can't sleep because I paid $350 for a hotel room.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? Meanwhile, you see this guy. He's so funny. You're sitting on a fortune. $350 for a hotel room. That's just standard stuff.
See? You're capitulating. You're giving in to the man. See? That's what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want.
It's the principle.
Well, I have no principles.
How's my camera? I turned it off and on.
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
come on.
So besides purple cauliflower, did you have a nice meal somewhere?
They've all been kind of average.
All right.
What we had last night was pretty good. It was a risotto, not a risotto, a gnocchi with lamb in it. That was good.
That's
in the hotel
very nice.
Here. Yeah. Remember we were talking about a steak for $170 last when we went out with the crew? Mm-hmm. On the menu of this one, there was just a prime rib. Just a prime rib kind of thing. That was $120.
Jesus.
No, $140.
Even more.
For prime rib?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I did not have that.
Well, and I'm not capitulating on those kind of things because I have a bit, first of all, never order prime rib. I've never ordered, can't remember the last time I've ever eaten in a restaurant. Won't order steak. I don't care how much. I don't care how good the steak. Won't order steak. Won't order prime rib. What I ordered the other night is what I love to order in restaurants. Just sort of things I wouldn't make, like this mushroom toast or something. But there wasn't an item on this menu that was over $30. Yeah,
no, I agree,
and that's what I like in restaurants, and that's why back to the Mr. and Mrs. Rich Tunes, the restaurant that we're gonna take them to is just like that. It's like a neighborhood restaurant, seats 40 or 50 people. You're going to get some high quality food, and I think you make a really good point there, Fred, about those kind of restaurants. Even in a busy neighborhood like Bloor West, their business model is it's got to be good enough to come back. This place we're going to go, it'll be the third time I've been there in a month because it's not the best I've ever had, but it's really good value.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of restaurants I like. Even the restaurants in my neighborhood here. When you go to the jerk chicken place, you're going to get a mountain of food for $15.
Yes. Who was it asked me the other day? Oh, our buddy Jamie Watson, because he was saying any good restaurants in Brampton because he'd like to sort of spread out from Georgetown. And I said, no, I can't really recommend a good restaurant in Brampton. If you want takeout food, fantastic. But I can't put my finger on a restaurant where I would say go there to sit down and have a nice meal. Honestly, there was a couple there at the Four Corners for a while, a couple of Italian restaurants. They may still be there, but I get tired of them. But nothing that I would send anybody out of their way for.
Really, nothing in little old Brampton or whatever where the theater is around there.
And then, Darren was there, and we made the point, Brampton's 700,000 people, and I mean, that's my response to a restaurant. And then where Dan lives in Peterborough, I could probably name 10 good restaurants. Hey, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could find a good
amazing.
restaurant, yeah.
So, but again, takeout, Brampton's great for Indian and Caribbean and all that, but not to go and sit in a restaurant.
Well, in my neighborhood, like where we are here in the international headquarters, there's not a lot of sit down restaurants. There's a couple that are outstanding. One of them is a sushi place that is really expensive, but the rest of the type of eating around here is kind of what you described. Really, really good ethnic food made by the people. Do you know what I mean? Made like the best Portuguese chicken next door to me, which is pretty famous around here. Like, it's great chicken. And it's the kind of place when they run out of chicken, there's no, they run out of chicken almost every day by the time, because people come there, but I don't think a lot of people go and eat there.
Well, the Caribbean restaurants around me, it can get frustrating because if you decide you want something around 6 or 7 o'clock, you go there and they're still open. You'll say, "Oh, I have the curry chicken." "Oh, we're all out, man."
No, absolutely.
And it's like, well, how can you be out? But then you think, well, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because they've made it in the morning right there. And when they run out, they run out. They're not going into a freezer and grabbing a big bag and boiling it till it's hot. You know what I mean? Like,
I've had that happen at BPC a couple times. That's what we call it around here, BPC. I've gone in at 7:30 because they close at 8, and they're like, "Yeah, man, you can have some sides." Great. Dan, we don't have to leave just a second. Well, we should actually get a little bit of business done, and then we'll have a quick conversation with Dan about other things, and then we'll move on. But first, here's the Fred Man going to talk about some of the fine people that support this program.
Well, like the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business, that's what they are. If you have a small business, go to chamberplan.ca. You can get a free quote today. And again, not only do you get a free quote online, I mean, that you can contact the people directly and have it all explained to you and how it works. It's a nonprofit, and it's a good way for small business to go because, they have a mind to keeping the lid on premiums because small business can't get involved in something and then have it explode. You get what I'm talking about. And, we've been part of it probably pushing 10 years now. Yes, it would have to be. And I'll tell you, I'm the money man. I handle the money with this company, and I can see the premiums have not gone up a lot over that time period. They just haven't. And at the same time, you get prescriptions and dental, a lot of the things that you expect from a dental or from a benefits package. But there's travel and there's therapies and there's different levels you can buy into. They have the teledoc system, an HR component, a mental health line. So they've got it all covered. The Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan.
I just laugh. Yeah, I'm the money man. Wait a second, the Jewish guy's in the money man? No, it's a different guy. Different guy. We're talking about We're talking about restaurants. Let's talk about this restaurant that supports us. Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. You mentioned that chicken sandwich. They got so many different food items. They never run out. They never run out of goodness. At Kelsey's, swing by the Original Roadhouse for some awesome deals. Lunch trios every single day for lunch, starting at $14.99. At Kelsey's, by the way, is also where wings first landed. The Original Roadhouse. Stop by for half-price wings and $6 Coors Light every Wednesday and Thursday. Get them sauced up your way. There's never been a better time to wing it. And at Kelsey's, it feels good to give back. They have partnered with the BGC, that's the Boys and Girls Club of Canada, to give back locally. Visit your local Roadhouse and buy a $5 kids card, and you'll get 3 meals free. All proceeds to BGC Canada. So what are you waiting for? Join them at Kelsey's Original Roadhouse or visit them online at kelseys.ca. You mentioned the fall colors, the fact that we're experiencing whatever this is, second summer. And I don't want to go over this again, but we have been experiencing this shift in the weather for quite some time. And I had this conversation yesterday with my friend saying, in the 35 years that I've been here, so the 35 years Dan and I have been here, also coincidentally enough, that's 35 years we've worked together. Mm-hmm. The way the weather has in terms of like in the spring it used to be nice and in the fall it got cold, and now that has shifted. I know we've talked about it, the fact that April into May can really suck around here. Mm-hmm. Even though the sun is different, but from the end of August to sort of the end of October, we experience some of the best summer weather of the year. Again, I know we talked about shorts and walking around and how warm it's been, but I wasn't here in November last year at all. But this weather in October is pretty special.
Well, September was as well. So September and October, excuse me, really have been spectacular. In fact, if you could take September and October and choose that for the whole year and sacrifice the heat, I would do it, because it's been beautiful.
Yeah,
it really has been wonderful. You wonder with that shift from seasons, like it nicer later and then shitty earlier in the year, have they screwed up with the calendar or something? The way every so often they add a minute or something to keep the calendar proper, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they've added 2 months, though. It's I don't think they may have added a minute, but I don't think it's
maybe
been 2 months.
Screwed up.
Haven't really screwed it up. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's and it's other than a couple of days later in this week where it's going to sort of go back to, I don't even know what normal is anymore, but it is going to be in the late teens, early 20s for the next week or so.
And if it continues into November, remember last year? Even January wasn't bad. Like, it was very livable January, which is cool. If you go away in the winter, it makes the winter that much shorter, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what we need at our age. So, Dan, when are you coming back from Montreal today?
Yeah, we're traveling later today.
Traveling? All right.
Traveling, getting in the car, going over to pick up Colton, or not pick up, just to say goodbye to Colton and do the finals over there, and then we're heading out, traveling back.
Are you taking Vanessa back as well?
No, it's her reading week, so she's staying the week. But we brought her here, so she would have to,
to be young.
To be young and reading, supposedly reading. It's funny you say it's reading week. Today is the beginning of, in our Glassman family, which is known as Charlie Birthday Week.
Oh, yes.
Charlie's birthday, I think, is, what's today? 22nd's tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Is Thursday. But there are celebrations all week long.
Excellent. So there should be.
And yes, my sweet little baby is going to turn 30.
Oh.
I know. It's weird. It's weird because her mother was 30, pregnant with Charlie. Mm-hmm. I was saying that to Charlie. I said, you were at your mother's 30th birthday party, and she's now going to be at yours. Or are you going to be at both of those? Whatever it is. You guys were at. I'm pretty sure you would have been there. It was at the Royal York. I took because Randy loves ex-wife. Randy loves Benihana.
Right. Well, I was there. Yes.
That's the place where they throw the knives.
They throw the knives. Yeah, they chop up everything, and so that was always Randy's birthday go-to. And for Randy's 30th birthday, I gave her. Do you remember what I gave her?
Mm-hmm. A Jetta.
I gave her a car. Mm-hmm. Oh, we bought it. We were a family then, so we bought her in. But you did.
Was it not a
car? Yeah.
Was it not like a red Jetta? Because I remember you had it parked out front.
We had it parked out front, and she walked in.
I remember these things. Yeah.
And so, yes, she was quite pregnant at that point in the spring. And anyway, so it's Charlie's birthday this week, and it's all very exciting. She's very excited about it. Anyway, she's very Halloween themed because she loves Charlie loves October, obviously. It's not just her birthday, but she loves the whole fall season. It's her favorite. I am a little bit. I've been driving around this neighborhood. There's some people that have gone Halloween overboard. Have you noticed that it used to be that people would decorate their houses? Be the odd little thing in the yard, but people have sort of amped it up a bit.
You're asking the wrong guy, Howie.
People aren't doing that in your neighborhood?
Oh, my neighborhood, Halloween is not even a thing. If we get 1 or 2 kids, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, whatever. No, nothing. We don't even bother anymore. We just go over to Mel's and watch the kids.
Yeah.
We don't even feel bad. Nobody comes.
Well, I'm not just talking about people visiting your house. I'm talking about the fact that I've never there. I was, I guess, I was in Oakville last week talking. I was going to visit Dave, and I've never seen Halloween decorations at this level, where the yard is filled with figures and spooky shit, and it's like some kind. It was one of those things where it's like it used to be people would overdo it for Christmas.
I know. I make those statements, and yet I was at Melanie's, my daughter's, yesterday, and she's got, the kids are 10 and 12, so of course she's got the house decked out pretty good. They have a graveyard on the front lawn.
we did the same thing. We used to have little graveyard figures. I'm talking about kind of a normal amount of decorations. What I've seen recently are people that have gone out and spent, big money on like cartoon characters and giant. I'll send you some pictures of the people in this neighborhood.
Giant things are unbelievable.
Giant things.
Yes. I saw one in Canadian Tire the other day that was like the height of the building almost.
Yes.
You know how high the ceilings are in Canadian Tire. It was like at least 15 feet high. And there was just down from Lisa's place, there's 2 ghosts. Because there's a lot, to your point, Howard, there's a lot of things that blow up. They have
inflatable stuff
in them, and but these are actual structures of some sort that are probably 15, 20 feet high. Mm-hmm. There's 2 of them this year that sort of like creep over onto the front lawn. It was like, how much money goes into?
Well, this is my point.
Those things,
money.
This is my point. I never used to see this. Even in my Oakville neighborhood, again, we did the same thing that Mel's doing with their kids. We had that stuff, that material that goes over the trees, and it's all spooky looking.
It looks like webby and
exactly.
Yeah.
We did all that, but I'm seeing stuff like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation level Halloween decorations.
Yeah.
And speaking of,
I'd have to go pretty far to see that. Probably Georgetown. You don't see a lot of it in Brampton.
Another thing I saw yesterday, watched a little bit of the Bills game. I didn't get to the home till the 4th quarter, which was nice because then they just were already well ahead. And did you watch any of the Bills yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you notice what they? It definitely played during the Bills, which was a Christmas commercial.
Oh, really? No,
yeah,
didn't see that.
It was for Disney Cruise Lines.
Wow. And
at first I wasn't sure. I'm like, I just was kind of half paying attention when the commercial started, and I'm like, wait a second, this was October 20th. Wait, is this an actual Christmas commercial before Halloween? And it was a magical childhood waking up to go on a Disney cruise.
Oh, I get that. I guess if you're going to do something like that, pretty much now would be the time to book it, eh? Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I get out of the car with Johnny Slapshot yesterday after his hockey game, and I saw the graveyard on their front lawn, and I said, lots of Halloween decorations. He goes, yeah. He said, look, we got a graveyard. And I said to him, I said, is that where they buried Grandma Junie? And he looks at me and he says, no, Papa, nobody's buried there. That's just decoration. I said, okay.
Oh, okay.
And then later I was thinking, why do I do that to this kid? Like, seriously. Because he knows who Grandma Junie is. That was my mom.
Yeah, of course.
Just the way he looked at me like, what?
You're training him in the ways of humor, and that makes sense.
I know.
Yeah. Well, by the way, going back a few moments ago, the normals this time of year, Howard,
yes,
around 12 for the high.
Come on.
And around 1 to 5 for the minimum.
Well, that's going to shift, isn't it, over the next few years?
I'd say.
Those numbers are going to change.
I had turned, I guess a couple of weeks ago, it was a colder day, and I had turned the heat on, which I've subsequently turned off. But like it was like 75 in my house yesterday. That's Fahrenheit. I didn't turn the air conditioning on, but I just opened up all the windows and doors because I was like, it has just gotten so hot. Not that I'm complaining. All right, Dan, Fred and I are going to take a few minutes here to just go over some of the goings on. I know you're not a big Trump talk fan. So, do you have? Are you okay to do the news in that hotel room, or do you have other duties? Do you have to?
No. I got I've warned Lisa. She's getting ready for whatever business stuff is. So it's all on.
All right, well, it's magical.
She's aware your camera's on. You don't want her traipsing behind the camera when she's coming into the bathroom or whatever.
Right. She strategically worked around that already.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, there was a moment a second ago where Dan had turned off his camera, and I assume that's when Lisa was flitting about in the semi-nude.
I promised her that I would, make sure I'd be aware. I'd be Lisa aware.
Yeah.
She had to wander behind me. I would turn the camera on.
Lisa running around there in her.
Yeah. What if we give you $1,000 bonus to leave it on?
That's right. I was just about to say, no one wants to see Lisa running around there in her bra and panties and maybe some high heels. Yeah. Maybe
what's it worth to you, Dad?
Finally, some money out of this show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, you're like, Lisa, put those high heels back on. Yeah. The boys want a little show. All right, so Dan, give us about 15 or 20 minutes and then come back, do the news, and we've got an interview. It's going to be great. I don't know what to make about our Buffalo Bills. I saw that the Titans had gone up at the beginning of the game. I came in late. And again, by the time I had started watching, they'd scored like 17 or 20 unanswered points. So my question is, before we move on to Trump, because you and I discussed the fact that the Bills weren't beating anybody of note. Are the Titans a decent team?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
So just another weak one.
No, and I've made the comparison, the analogy, whatever you want to call it. The Bills are consistent with the teams that we like. They're like the Leafs. They're like the Blue Jays. They're good, but not good enough. Like you can see, the Bills aren't. I mean, they've taken a couple of steps backwards over the past couple of years. And you see the Lions and the Chiefs and some of these teams, and they're just not there. Unfortunately, but who knows? Maybe as the season unfolds and, there's always trades and injuries and acquisitions and whatever.
Well, I think they're an entertaining, so I didn't have that perspective, but I just find it entertaining to watch. I find them an entertaining team when they're...
Yes.
Josh Allen's in full flight and that 50 some odd, 55-7, whatever yard reception there in the fourth quarter, and DeMar Hamlin. Is it Hamlin?
Mm-hmm. Hamlin, yeah. I'll tell you, a team to watch is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you've been saying that.
I'll tell you, for decades, they just stunk. Perennial bums, and then all of a sudden, the past couple of years, but that offensive coordinator, I forget what his name is, but boy, are they a fun team to watch.
Well, give it a shot. I'll add that to my list.
Yeah, check it out.
Speaking of sports, our top story, our headline, and this is under the category. I think there's a couple of things this could be under the category of so much nobody notices anymore when it comes to Trump. So much. Or could also be under the headline, if this were any other politician, what would the reaction be? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what still remains a mystery to me. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm, along with you, and you're one of my friends that I talk about this with the most. So I think we are pretty in tune with this stuff, and yet still I can't explain why it's okay for him to say the crazy shit he says, and yet it wouldn't be as okay or allowable if it were anyone else. If it were Biden, you could name half a dozen things, and I want to get your reaction to this.
Yeah, well, I find it exhausting. No, exhausting isn't the word. Frustrating is the word. And, I had this conversation yesterday with my wife and my daughter. You and I are really into this, following it. Delise is somewhere in the middle, and Melanie's aware of it, but tries to stay away from it. Which is probably the best way to be. Because when you're really into it, it's just a source of frustration, because this stuff happens. And not only, what really bothers me is it seems Kamala, the standard she's being held to compared to him. Like, she says one little thing, and even in the mainstream media, I'm talking CNN, MSNBC, they'll question her. Like, why would she say that? Or she said this, and it doesn't make sense on this level. Meanwhile, this guy, they don't even know where to begin in the mainstream media with him now. You know what I mean? They just don't even know where to begin. So he'll go to a rally and say ridiculous things. He says so many ridiculous things. They just say, oh, Donald Trump rallied in Pennsylvania today and was his normal self. You know what I mean? And then Kamala will go somewhere and have one little misstep about an economic policy or something, and that's the headline. So that frustration for me is it's mounting.
Well, and I guess that's what I would have used that word if I had thought of it, that it's frustrating. It's too, like I said, the headline could be, there's so much of it. It was only, listen, if it's too much for you and I, and we keep track of it at the level we do, what is it for the average person? Because it was just a week ago, this man stood on stage for 39 minutes playing songs at a rally after two people had passed out because of heat exhaustion. That was that's within the last 7 days. What we're going to get to now just happened recently. And again, it's inexplicable. This is all by way of setting up this clip. But frustrating, inexplicable, hard to understand. Why is it that it's not the same, as you say, they're not held to the same standards. And it's close. And a lot of people think he's going to win.
Yeah, including, I think now it's pretty apparent. And again, another word I would use is disheartening, because it's exposed America for what it is. It's one thing for Donald Trump to be the way he is, but to have the masses follow it and buy into it is very, very disheartening. And as I was saying yesterday, so the women in my life, you'd think by 2024 we'd be beyond that. Like, you just think in 2024 this is not acceptable. Well, what Donald Trump has done is exposed how disappointing, racist, uncaring the country really is. And that, I find that really disheartening.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's the same thing, when I look around, I mean, you and Dan and my best friend Doug and Darren and all these people in my life, Fred Ball, close, and it even goes outside that. Everybody recognizes him for what he is. And, often, like in your life, I could take a position and then talk to a few of my friends and they'd say, no, you're crazy. And then give me a couple of arguments why I'm barking up the wrong tree or I'm thinking the wrong way. I don't get any of that. All the people in my life whose opinions I respect side on decency, which is refreshing. But that makes it even more disheartening that half a country has bought into this crap.
Yeah, well, It's interesting, if I can use that word. Interesting. It's interesting to, and again, I don't interact with this guy very much anymore. The guy that we had on from Indiana, You remember is a guy I sort of sought out on Twitter because I thought it would be of interest to have somebody come on here and explain to us. But the problem and what's frustrating is that there is no explanation given. It's just a bunch of talking points and echo chamber discussions from Fox and Newsmax and OAN. You see, what you just said about, there was a time where you could have a discussion on policy. You could say, well, I don't think that the economic plan the Liberals are putting forward in this particular time will be fiscally good for our country. And you might say something the opposite. And we could have kind of even a heated discussion on points we disagree with. But we would sort of come away with, it's like we respect the process.
Yes.
Well, I think that's gone.
Yes.
Because we all can't agree that standing on a stage swaying for 39 minutes is crazy as fuck. And has nothing to do with this man's policies. And I'll just finish by saying, as you and I, you, me, you, have pointed out ad nauseum, policy-wise, he was horrible for the country. His response to COVID, the debt was in the 5-point-something trillion, on and on and on. But none of that matters because it is the cult of personality.
And we mentioned it before. It's not. Oh, Jesus! It's like. Excuse me for a sec.
Yeah, go away. Go away and clear your throat. Do what you have to do.
It's not like we've missed the boat. We're naive because we've made the point many times. This is a reaction by a segment of America. Screw establishment. You know what I mean? Screw the status quo. They sort of have this attitude that for years and years and years, government on the surface has been decent. They talk to each other nice and, and you're very accommodating with immigration and everything. We've had enough. Yeah, that guy's a horrible guy, but we're going with him because we've had enough of that. I'm aware of that. What the disappointing part of that is something what you just said when it comes to policy. It's not like he's horrible and he has great policy. He doesn't. Do your homework. Please do your homework.
But they don't. They're not going to do it.
I mean, it's there to be seen. Just follow a timeline. And you can see he wasn't a very good president economically. But these people, to mask their hate, their intolerance, their racism, they point to policy. It is scary.
It is scary. What's scary, and I won't play the clip. You and I were listening to something as we started the meeting this morning before we hit record. And it's not just him that I find repulsive. It's even more repulsive in a weird way that other people who are supposed to be leaders and pretty smart people, the way they defend him, I find that also strangely, I don't know, disconcerting, or it makes me, I get this weird feeling like, well, wait a second, you're smarter than this. You know that's not true. And when the vice president was on with Brett Baer last week on Fox and they played that wrong clip, I love the fact that she said, Brent, you and I both know that's not the clip. We all know this is just bullshit. Let's call that out. And I love the way, but more people needed to do that because now we're just a few weeks away from this election and only a couple things can happen. She wins. And they'll dispute it. They'll say it's rigged. He wins, and it will be, valid. Everything will be fine. Or or he'll win by a lot, or she'll win by a lot. I mean, polling would suggest neither of them could win in a landslide, but there is this sort of unreported Trump supporter, and perhaps some of those Nikki Haley Republican women will at the last second go, no, I can't vote for this guy. Want to have a fun little comedic interlude? Just in the middle of this?
Yeah.
I just made me think of this because I have this clip ready. It's Elaine from Seinfeld, Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
I won't play you the whole clip. I'll just play you the last couple of seconds of it. She's talking about, why she wants to vote for Kamala Harris and why you should too, because Trump's going to take away all your reproductive rights and IVS and birth control, all this stuff. And this is how she ends it. Have a listen.
Protections of Roe v. Wade. Go to iwillvote.com, check your registration, make a plan, and vote for Kamala Harris on November 5th. Because I don't know about you, but I'd really like to get the government out of my snatch.
That's great.
They beep it. She goes, I'd really like to get the government out of my fucking snatch.
Here's what adds to the frustration too, and people that know better, but in support of this guy are willing to like sell their soul and their morals and their decency. And again, I always talk about Fox News. Fox News traditionally, against Black Lives Matters, against reparations in the black community, and you know what I mean. And whenever they talk about violence in the Dem cities, the blue cities, it's always pictures of black guys, right?
Hey, your
my camera. I'll get it in a
It's
second.
fine.
The 33 people. I've just noticed that. But anyway. What was I saying?
You're saying the way they defend and they talk about the Democratic cities.
Well, this is it. So yesterday I see an article and it says black celebrities are starting to support Trump, right? And I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting on Fox. So then they have a list of the black celebrities that are now supporting Trump. And there's a guy named Lord Jamar or something. He's a rapper. He's a Holocaust denier. Kodak Black, another rapper guy. You wouldn't believe his rap sheet. There's videos of him handing a gun to a child in a crack house. Antonio Brown played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL players. I couldn't begin to tell you the length of the sheet with his run-ins with the law, including, accused of rape, and he's a deadbeat dad, sexual assault. And then 50 Cent, drugs and weapons charges, all these things that Fox normally would attack the black community on.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So they put this list just as a desperate attempt because, this whole, Trump apparently is appealing more to the black community. They put this list of celebrities that are now backing Trump. Don King's there, Mike Tyson. I mean, I don't have to tell you about these guys. Mm-hmm. And it's just frustrating because there Fox News knows these are all really, really bad dudes that on any other day they would attack. And if they aligned with Kamala Harris, what they would say and do about it, it's just so upside down.
Yeah,
and frustrating.
Well, and yeah, for sure, and that's the whole Fox model is if any of those people had a step forward for Kamala Harris, they would be exploiting all of those things, but of course they don't.
Right.
Before I play you this clip, and I just want to reiterate the fact that in late spring, June, around the time of the debate. The standard they were holding Joe Biden to, and I mean the real mainstream media, CBS, New York Times, you mentioned MSNBC, but I'm talking about just like regular television, because MSNBC is still a cable outlet. Brett Baer's interview with the vice president last week had 7 million viewers. Like that was 3 times his normal amount of viewers. So those are still sort of on the outskirts of the of regular television, and nobody is covering Donald Trump the way they covered Joe Biden.
No,
like some of the stuff that he's every day, some of the stuff that he says. So I'm gonna play you the clip, the one that the Arnold Palmer clip that everyone's talking about today, and I'll read you some of the reaction from the guy who's still a Trump supporter. So here it is. This was Trump at a crucial swing state rally.
But Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, That's unbelievable. I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here.
So even that's 38 seconds. First he says, I refuse to say it. Then I had to say it. I love women. Like, how that's not the lead story on every newscast. Presidential candidate is talking about how big Arnold Palmer's dick is in rally.
No, I know. All that ship has sailed. Again, we've talked about it. There's so much stuff out there. They don't know how to keep track of it. Or Howard, I cannot explain it. I just can't. You know, even Bill Maher's disappointing me a bit now because I can see he's playing the old, I don't like Trump and I don't think he's going to win, but just in case he does.
Yeah.
You know, I got to keep my franchise intact here. And anyway, that's the power of this guy. There's another thing we have to appreciate, how powerful he is. You know, you talk about Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, all these people defending him, people that know better. They are frightened of him. How pathetic is that the United States has been reduced to that?
Yeah, here's
one guy. You know, like any other era, the people around the president would push back and say, you know, at some point this is unacceptable. But he is just so powerful and they're so afraid of him because they have no idea how he'll react and what he'll do. They're just lining up behind him.
So I just looked at some of the reaction. I posted that clip on my Twitter feed. I don't know why I do this stuff. I should just stop. Because I'm now getting a lot of reaction from other pro-Trump fucking assholes, but this guy's not. This is the guy that we had on our show. As I mentioned earlier, I corresponded with him. I asked him to come on. I said it would be a good conversation. And every once in a while we correspond, but this was him commenting on that clip. Now when I played that clip, when I posted it, I should say, here's what I wrote. Oh, come the fuck on. I started, oh, come the fuck on. And it's still tied. It used to be a candidate for president. If a candidate for president went off on a big dick riff, that would be the end of it. I don't know. I don't know that wasn't trying to be that inflammatory. I liked it. And here's the reaction from the Trump guy. You missed the best part. He also said Kamala was a shit VP, which Americans know is absolutely true. He's bold as fuck, and he doesn't give a shit what communists think about it. That's why we love him, and that's why he'll be our 47th president. I don't have the clip of him saying the vice president was a shit VP. If anyone was shit at their job, it's him. So since I posted that, a bunch of other people have now. I didn't notice it till now. Some guy said, it's not tied. It's going to be a Trump landslide. And it's called a joke. Regular people think jokes are funny.
Well, you know, I guess if there was nothing else and he was just a normal candidate and there was a little aside like that, people might think, ooh, geez, you know, he stepped out for that, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was inappropriate. But on top of everything else, it's... And again, that guy that responded to you, you know what I mean? He's just a fucking idiot. Yeah, again, you got to be an idiot. So that's his takeaway. She's a shit vice president. And anyway, and the thing is, that Arnold Palmer dick thing, I mean, there's, again, so much worse than that he said in the past week. He's going to turn the... How does any American put up with him saying he would use the National Guard or the military against people in his own country?
Maybe that's one of those jokes. Regular people like jokes.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
That's one of those funny jokes people do.
You know, I was looking at the Toronto Sun, and this Brian Lilly guy, he's, you know, well, I won't say it right now and I'll explain why. He wrote something about Kamala Harris. He's always taking shots at Kamala Harris, and I never see him write anything bad about Donald Trump. And this is a guy, the Toronto Sun, a Canadian and everything, and I look at it and I think, wow. Now, is he doing this because it's the Toronto Sun and, it's sort of a right-wing newspaper and that's good for business, whatever. So I said, Boone, ask Brian Lilley if he'll come on our show. I would love to just have him on and say, what are we missing? Tell us as Canadians what we're missing here, Brian. I predict he will not come on the show because a lot of these guys, I will give your buddy in Indiana or whatever credit that he actually came on the show. I bet you a guy like Brian Lilley wouldn't come on our show because he doesn't want to ask the question or answer the questions he knows we would ask because there's no answer for them. I may be surprised, and he may accept, but I highly doubt it, and that would be the reason. He would come up with some excuse not to come on the show, but I'm sure he would think, oh, those guys are going to ask me this and that. I don't really have an answer for it. I'm just supporting this pig. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's, I mean, you think every time you think, well, this is unprecedented or this has never happened before because you didn't see this in politics, but Trump's different, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. He's bold. But then again,
he's
it gets
bold
back
as
to
fuck. That's what that guy thought.
Okay, he's bold as fuck. And again, I could even say it. This guy has a track record of being an amazing president and everything he did was successful. We're going to put up with the boldness. But that's not the case.
No, I know.
That's not the case. Even with that Bloomberg interview last week, he didn't even know that financial guy. Trump had no idea what he was talking about half the time. He doesn't even understand that.
Well, and that's what think about all the people who worked around the guy who said he's unfit. What they mean is, I know I was joking about the West Wing. The job of the president is for smart people. Mm-hmm. And say what you want about Biden's ability in public. Behind the scenes, nobody was saying Biden couldn't do the job. You didn't hear a lot of his top aides saying, like he's just not able to understand anymore. But to your point about the Bloomberg interview, Trump didn't understand half the shit that was thrown at him.
No, he doesn't even know about it. And I guess in his administration, he had other people look after that stuff. But yeah, it's frightening. And how many people have been sucked into it. And again, they're just willing to overlook all the flaws and everything because, what the seed is, the seed of it all. It's just angry and it's hate and it's racism and it's intolerance and, and it's baiting the black community. And, even like last week when Obama come out and sort of chastised black men for... they've done a pretty good job at turning that around. I've seen interviews like Man on the Street stuff, not even Fox, where black guys going, well, wait a minute, don't call me out as a black guy. What about men in general that support him? Yeah. So that may have backfired on them, and who knows? It seems since she took over and had that wave, that gust of, glory or whatever it was. Or what were they calling it at the time? There was a word, hope or whatever.
Yeah.
It just seems to have slowly deteriorated.
Well, it's like I said in my post, the fact that it's still tied and the fact that it's as close as it is. And that's, I know you listen to the same stuff I do. There's internal polling that says, she might be doing better in those swing states than some of the national polling, because the national polling is an aggregate of polls. The bottom line is, we got to move on here, but the bottom line is, I don't know what I'm going to do personally if he gets back in, because I would really just love for her to win so I can move on from this. It does occupy I know it's sort of fun, but it does occupy a lot of my attention that probably could be better spent doing other things. Like, one of the first things I check every day, and one of the last things I'm looking at night is, some of these accounts I follow. What's the latest crazy shit he's done? I don't know. It's not healthy. I would like to just...
Well, it's not healthy, but remember what we do.
No, I know. Let me just finish by saying I'd like to go back to a time when I really didn't follow American politics at this level.
Right. Remember, again, what we do. And, it's a current event show. We talk about all sorts of stuff. It's pretty important because it's very important. In fact, when I hear people say they don't really care about it, they're not following it, part of me thinks, well, maybe you should. And that term, Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, I love that.
We should all have that. We should all have a severe case because this is not good. And if he gets in, it'll be, as I say, I think I'll be able to move on with it because I think it's more the anticipation of what people are thinking and what people are going to do. Once they do it, you can move on. And,
I give you that. Well, but
if he's elected, it's just I'll be disheartened. I'll say, there's a sad statement on society in 2024. Hopefully, we can do better going forward. I don't know.
But that Trump Duran, that catch-all phrase for anyone that questions his fucking sanity, I hate that. It shouldn't be Trump derangement syndrome. It should be Trump is deranged syndrome. He's the one that's deranged. And I just want to, I don't want to get too dramatic about the parallels to 1930s Germany, but other people have.
Oh, it's scary.
It's like, this is what happens when you get a society. When we watched, I was listening to this clip with the Speaker of the House talking to Jake Tapper at CNN yesterday, Sunday morning shows. When you get a guy who's seemingly a lawyer, went to, they're smart people, and they're the ones with Trump derangement syndrome, that they can make excuses, and there's a big word for it. I can't remember it. But the word means to sort of not cover up, but to try and explain his behavior as though it was rational. Like those people who were commenting on my post, talking about how it's a joke. That's if Joe Biden did that, they wouldn't think it was a joke.
No. And I've heard the people that you say, oh, Trump supporters are stupid. Well, honestly, you cannot, and we've said this before, you cannot say half the country is stupid.
No.
There's a reason that they're acting stupid, okay? You know what I mean? Having said that, there is a segment of very, very dumb people. And I'm going to give you an example, and I don't care anyway because he goes on his podcast, and it's funny how you talk about at night, checking out who said what and why and what has he said. A guy we used to work with, Freeway Frank, he's got a podcast. It's called whatever. Now he's just stupid. You know what I mean? He's a big Trumper, and Trudeau sucks, and fuck Trudeau, and Kamala Harris is an idiot, But you listen to his podcast, he is just stupid. He's uninformed. The stuff he throws out there, he hasn't researched. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, there is a legion of dumb people following this guy without taking the time to actually look at the other side or research what he said or what he's done. And that's disheartening, too. Do dumb people like Kamala Harris, too? I guess. But you know what? She's a decent human being.
Well, and I haven't listened to his show in a long time, and so we worked with him. He's a nice enough guy. The fact that people are willing, and we got to go because David's standing by here. But the fact that people are willing, maybe this is Frank's issue, to not see all this stuff, like to watch Trump on stage last week for 39 minutes swaying to music, and then come away and think, that's the guy that should be the leader of the free world. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
The guy that's sitting on a pee pad on Fox and Friends. Like, there's just so much. And I think you pointed out, you make a good point again about, like, if everything else was great and he was a bit quirky, but he's not a bit quirky. He's been a fucking loser his entire life.
Right.
And if it wasn't for The Apprentice, he could have never been elected president. It's all just made up and fake. And that's what I find, I don't know, like I've run out of words. Not frustrating, disheartening, maybe. The inexplicable for me is after all of the things you really know about the guy, that you could easily look up, that you could go on whatever podcast Frank does and goes, yeah, she's the one that's stupid.
Well, that's what I mean. I'd love to go on and just have a conversation with him. But again, I'm not sure he would do that type of thing. But, there are people that are Trump backers can actually construct sometimes, a valid argument on some level, as crazy as that sounds. But there are. But when you go on a podcast like he does and you just make a fool of yourself because, you talk about the Supreme Court and you don't even know how many judges are on the Supreme Court while you're telling your story. It's like bizarre. And then cherry picking other goofy little things. And it's like, my God, man, like, where are you getting your information? Yeah. It's embarrassing, especially for somebody that you know and sort of liked. It's weird.
Yeah, I think some people, I think they just decided a while back to attach their brand to that train. And you can't, once you do, it's hard to back down. And that's the weird thing is like you see people talk about Kamala Harris or other left-wing or Democratic politicians, and they'll admit, yeah, there's some things about them I like and some things I don't. With here's how you know it's a fucking cult, because you listen to these people and there's nothing about the guy. There's nothing about the guy that they think is a mistake or that he's ever made a mistake. The fact that he never admits to making a mistake is also a bit, troublesome. All right, so that was our longest little Trump, diatribe, if you want to call it. There's just been a lot. There's a lot percolating, and when we haven't seen each other for 4 days, so. Let's take a second here before I introduce our guest today, who has actually been with us before. David Eisenstadt. There he is. He's a very nice man. And
hello, David.
Hey, David.
Gentlemen, good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning. David was on a while back for another book you wrote about Jewish artists. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm well, and thank you for asking. I trust you guys are both doing your usual good stuff.
Oh yeah, we're trying. We're trying our best.
It's
David. It's mostly nonsense. The latest book is called "Musicians Under the Radar." 42. Is this the third volume or the fourth volume?
No, this is number 3. I guess what began as a hobby has sort of morphed into 108 chapters over the course of 3 books, over the course of about 3 years.
And this is predominantly musicians, or have you now expanded to be actors or to be comedians?
Well, they're primarily musicians. I guess the key word is musicians, and so many musicians do other things.
Right.
So again, one's portfolio might show an individual as an actual radio broadcaster as well as being a guitarist.
Did I freeze?
No, you're fine. You're right there. We were having a little trouble with ours. I was just waiting for you to jump in.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The way you were...
we're eating up the clock.
Don't worry, Dave. We got lots of clock to eat up.
There you go. No, but again, as I say, it's a hobby. It's become a hobby, and it sort of keeps me off the streets.
So in the first edition, I think we talked to you. There's a lot of Jewish musicians that... And I apologize because, of course, it's called Musicians Under the Radar. But like people like Geddy Lee, Stephen Page, they're not really under the radar. I think most people know that those guys are Jewish.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Here's my empirical research, and I started this kind of as a joke way back when. I would say to family, friends, Jews, Gentiles, whatever, I'd say, can you name 3 Canadian Jewish musicians? Invariably in this order: Leonard Cohen, Geddy Lee, Drake, and then a pregnant pause. Once in a while, I'd get Robbie Robertson, but not very often. And that was it. So let's go back to Stephen Page. He's in my second book. There's no question when he was fronting the Bare Naked Ladies, he was way above the radar. But the reality, things change. Life changes. For better or for worse. He ran into a number of personal issues. And in my mind's eye, again, I'm the author, so I guess I get to be the arbiter. And not picking on him, but in my view, he kind of has fallen under the radar. And he's coming back, and you see him every once in a while doing a charity gig or something else. And that's terrific. Typical of, I guess, what evolves, Danny Marks in first book. Danny told me, at 19, I was a rock star. At 21, I was a has-been. Well, that's not an atypical kind of scenario for musicians.
But the fact that when you ask people about Jewish musicians or whatever, and they don't know or can't come up with a list beyond 3, that's actually a good thing, isn't it? Because take a guy like, from my position, I don't care. You know what I mean? That wouldn't even be part of...
Well,
that wouldn't even be part of any equations. I like Geddy Lee's Jewish. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he's under the radar. He doesn't need my forgive the word, shilling for him.
Yeah,
right. I'm not shilling at all. I'm not writing softball pieces. This is history, and this is kind of a compendium. There's really nothing quite like this. You can go to the Canadian Encyclopedia and you'll find a paragraph on this classical artist, a paragraph on this folky, a paragraph on this rocker, but there's nothing that sort of brings this whole mix together. Now, I have to remember, we're a country of immigrants, and this happens to be a group, if you will, of Jewish immigrants, children of immigrant families. Well, it could apply to any particular immigrant group. You can scratch out the word Jewish and put in Italian. You could in Polish. You could put in.
No, David. If I may interject, I know what Fred's saying. Like, we don't really, you don't really think about musicians like that. But in this particular case, it's like this little game that Jewish people like to play, which is, did you know that person was Jewish? And it's kind of like a game that Canadians play, which is, did you know that famous person was Canadian? And so in your book, these are musicians under the radar. But could it also be that you didn't know were Jewish?
Well, I guess so. I had somebody again with Mark Jordan. I mean, everybody knows who Mark Jordan is.
Yeah, of course.
A guy sent me a text message and basically said, "Gee, I knew he was Jewish. I didn't know he was Canadian." So what Howard, what keeps coming up time and time again is the "I didn't know that."
Yes.
We talked about that way back when, and people go, "Really? Like, you've got Maureen Forrester, the operatic contralto. She's Jewish?" And yeah, it turned out she converted, married a Jewish violinist with a TSO. She became more Jewish than him. But it doesn't matter that they're Jewish per se. I'm trying to find a way to give recognition to a lot of people who are trucking along and making a living, I guess, and loving what they do, and giving them some kind of visibility, if you will, in a compendium of different genres, different genders, alive or dead, and so on.
So is this more a book for Jewish people?
Are you kidding me?
Well, no, only from the standpoint, again, I get back.
Yeah, and again,
this is not a this is not a criticism at all. It's
How dare you?
Somebody said, again, I'll use Maureen Forrester or whatever says she's Jewish. I'd go, okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, to a non-Jewish person, that absolutely does not matter to me, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, here's the reality.
Fred's very woke when it comes to Jew identification.
And I know that, and we all love him for it. The reality is that if you have an interest in music, if you have an interest in history, whether they're Jews or they're not, it's an easy read. Jump on an airplane and you can get through half of it in a couple of hours.
No, but it is a question. Who's this book for? Well, it's for everybody. It happens to be about now you're into volume 3 of a book about people that, again, that's why I ask you that you may not identify. I don't think most people know Drake is Jewish, so that's interesting. But beyond that, there are stories about these musicians that are both Jewish and Canadian.
And that's exactly right. And the I don't know result it's kind of the fuel that drives me, because I keep discovering things. Here's an example.
Yeah, give us an example of somebody that was a surprise to you.
Well, here's a surprise to me. In book 1, I did independently a piece on Mo Kaufman, and you could say, well, he's not under the radar. Well, but he's been dead for a long time, and a lot of people don't know he's a Canadian jazz icon. I also did a chapter on Victor Feldbril. Victor Feldbril was a TSO and Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra conductor for a long time. When I got to second book, I wound up doing Bernie Sinensky. Bernie was Mo Kaufman's longtime pianist. He's well into his 80s. He's still trucking. He's still performing all over the place. And he's quite wonderful. And he said, David, if you do a third book, you need to look at Mo's grandson, Jake. Jake's a woodwind player. saxophone, clarinet, and so on and so forth.
No.
So I'm poking around, and what do I discover? Jake Kaufman is Canadian Jewish music royalty. His grandfather on his dad's side, Mo Kaufman, a no-brainer, but Victor Feldbrohl's his grandfather on his mom's side, and I didn't know that. And I'm going quite independently, whatever else. And when Jake wound up in book 3, he was over the moon. He says, wow, here I am in book 3, and my grandparents, my grandfathers are in book 1. Wow.
Well, what began as an initiative in the early days of the pandemic has, as you say here in these notes, taken on a new life and has become your hobby, and I think we're all the better for it. The book at this time is Musicians Under the Radar, 42 notable Canadian Jewish performers, and the website is undertheradarbook.com. And David Eisenstadt, you're a very nice man.
Howard, you're very nice for saying very nice things.
Well, this is when you get to radio guys that are Jewish under the radar, please consider me.
well, absolutely.
Who are they?
The thing is,
who are they, Howard?
You're way above. You're way above.
Who would there be? I'm trying to think. Beside me, who's Jewish? One of the
notable Canadian morning men that are Jewish.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but does it matter?
I don't even think I'd make that book. I wouldn't make the book. Mm-hmm. Anyway, David Eisenstadt, all the best to you with book number 3, and we'll look forward to catching up when volume 4 comes out. Take care, my friend.
Howard and Fred, thanks for the time.
Beautiful.
Appreciate
being with you.
Buddy.
You're a very beautiful person.
Right on,
thanks.
buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Dave.
All right, there's David Eisenstadt. Just let yourself out. Off you go. Take care. Just hit end. Bow, bow. Just hit end anywhere on the screen. You just
yeah.
There you go.
I just want to listen to the music.
All right.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, see you later, David. This is awkward now. Okay, there he is. I'm trying to think beside, when I first started in radio as a young little Jewish boy in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, when I first started in radio, it was not very common at all for people to have any kind of name that wasn't, or had any hint of ethnicity. Although when I first met Dan, he was still Dan Giebert. And as I have mentioned, he became Dan Duran on a bit that I was doing in Calgary. So that was many years later. But Dan Giebert was not a Roger radio name. You know what I mean? Like in those days, everyone, I don't know why. I guess people didn't want to have any ethnicity identification. But so my name, I was Howard Glassman on the radio in Moose Jaw until that fateful day, a year into my career, that I followed the program director. He was also the afternoon guy. And as he finished his show, he said, "Stand by, Saskatchewan. Humble Howard Glassman is next." And I was Humble Howard ever since. But in those days, and maybe you would have a memory of this, Freddie, in Toronto, where everybody had like a radio name, Robert W. Morgan and Shotgun Kelly. And it wasn't common to have somebody with an ethnic last name.
Right. No, I get it. Absolutely. In fact, that was just, and often they named you, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like you didn't even choose.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess. Anyway, I didn't mean to demean that in any way, but I was. I'm just being honest. Again, the way where I came from, where I grew up, it was he's Jewish, he's Catholic, whatever. It's just okay. Like, what's that got to do with the music? You know what I mean?
Oh no, I agree with you. Except when we're talking to a guy who's written a book about Jewish musicians. You're like, yeah, well, I don't care. You're like, next, what else you got? Got any other books?
Well, honestly, I just honestly had to make that point because it's great. And that's why I said, is it for Jewish people? Because as a non-Jew, I don't care whether you're Jewish or not. Does it sound good? That's my point, right?
No, I know. I couldn't name another. I'm trying to think of a morning guy in Canada that either heard of or worked with that was also Jewish? How about you, Dan? Am I the only Jewish morning guy you can think of?
It's the only one I can think of right now.
How come you didn't change your name when you started off?
Well, you know what? I worked in Calgary. Before that, I was in Edmonton, and Len Tucson, the program director there at that station, decided that my name Giebert was not radio enough. So he named me Dan Garrett.
Oh, you were Dan Garrett for a while?
Dan Garrett.
He came up with Garrett somehow.
Were you really?
Yeah.
And then when you changed your name to Dan Duran on this thing we used to do, this bit I did every morning called Police Blotter, because at first you were Constable Dan, and then you wanted to be...
Yeah.
What?
But Gieb.
Yeah, you were Constable Gieb? Officer Gieb.
Officer Gieb, right.
And then we jokingly, you changed your name to Dan Duran, but how come you never went back to Dan Giebert?
Because it had such great recall, to be honest. I think there was I worked at another radio station in Calgary, and they had done some market research on who can you name in the market? And really, I was on your show 2 to 3 times a morning in the 7 o'clock hour for a year and a half. And so number one in the market was a guy named Norm Edwards, who had been there for 20 years or something like that. Number 2 was you, and number 3 was me.
I know.
So I thought, well, okay, that's got great recall, and it's worked really well. So I just never.
Well, that's why I stuck. I've told this story. I didn't want to be called Humble Howard Glassman. I thought I was dumb. But very quickly, I became one of the most well-known guys on the radio station because I had this unusual handle. Mm-hmm. I wasn't one of the Robert W. Morgan Shotgun Kelly guys. I was something a little bit different.
So, in your early days, you were Howard Glassman.
Yeah, for the first year.
And nobody... And Glassman, people might identify that as a Jewish name, right?
Yeah.
So there was never, like in Moose Jaw when you worked and whatever, that never came up?
Yeah, no, I'm just laughing because it's like, yeah. I mean, it would be funny if my name was something else and I changed it to Glassman. What was his? It was like, his real name is Hebe Schwartz Big Nose. We're going to change it to Glassman.
Even when I think about first working with you, like, I don't even know. Like, and again, not that it mattered, like, who would care? Like, I'm not going to work with that guy, he's Jewish, or I better watch this guy because he's Jewish. It would be like, I meet Howard Glassman, he's a Jewish guy. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's not a thing.
No, it's not. I don't think it's a thing for me either.
Yeah.
But there is a game that Jewish people play. It's the same one that Canadians play, which is, did you know that guy was Jewish? Like, I didn't know Robbie Robertson was Jewish until I read that material this morning. I didn't know that. I didn't know Drake. I think I had heard it, and maybe I should have remembered it, but I had forgotten that Drake was Jewish. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's interesting from, someone so detached from religion or whatever, right? It's, the distinction is like...
Well, before we get to Dan Duran's news, I'll tell you what I can tell you about is a company that supports this program called Boron One. It's difficult to comprehend the variety of uses of boron in construction, manufacturing, medicine, science, microelectronics, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, space travel, communication, satellites, specialty metals. Shall I go on? I shall. Battery technology and more. We could not survive without the element boron. It is found all around us, and we're in constant contact with this vital element. And the people trying to get it out of the ground are Boron One. If you go to their news section, you'll see that there is progress being made by this junior mining company in a way that a lot of junior mining companies never get to, and they support us, so we pass that on to you. Again, we barely know, how electricity works, so we're not going to tell you anything about stock prices and what you should do with your money, but have a look at the company. We don't know what they're going to do. What's that?
Check it out.
Check. Yes.
It's up to you.
Check it out. Like, I don't know. And by the way, I have no idea how many Jews work for this company, but I hope some. Anyway, check out what's going on with this company, Boron One, when you go to boron1.com. Fred?
Hey, whether you're a sports bettor, or a horse racing fan, a poker, casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment. From their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. It's the Ravens and the Bucks tonight, Monday Night Football. As you can appreciate, the Ravens, the heavy favorite. Well, the points is just 3.5, but it's minus 195 on the money line. So that's the Monday nighter that I'm looking at tonight.
I'm sorry, I went away for a second. What's the Monday night game?
It's Baltimore and the Bucks. There's actually two tonight. The other one, but I just thought I would center on that game in particular.
Okay.
Isn't the World Series on now, too?
Yes, it's been decided. It's the Yankees and the Dodgers. Tomorrow I'll give you the line on that.
Oh, so it's like an East Coast, West Coast deal.
Yeah, the way it turned out, yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It could have been New York, but it turned out to be New York, LA. Could have had a subway series.
Speaking of sports, the baseball ratings were up. I saw a note. I thought I'd pass that on to you that there's a 20% jump in viewership for this year's MLB playoffs compared to last year. Online traffic for their website is also up 34% compared to 2023. But as I mentioned to you last week, I had listened. You and I listened to the same Overman stuff, and the idea that they don't have any World Series games and in the afternoon anymore is just kind of.
Mm-hmm. And those ratings are a bit. No, I'm not going to say false, but you
they're a bit skewed.
Well, when you have two New York teams and an LA team, you're going to get good ratings. You know what I mean? When you have Kansas City and Cleveland playing in a ALCS like a couple of years ago, the ratings are going to suck because those big markets aren't going to be tuning in. So.
Yeah, and when 3 of the 4 participants in the
yes,
along with Cleveland, I bet you the ratings are up in Cleveland.
The Chargers at Arizona is the later Monday night game tonight. There's 2 of them for whatever reason.
Also, a note of sports here. Leafs. Is John Tavares still the captain of the Leafs?
No.
Who's the captain now? Matthews?
Yeah.
How come?
During the summer, they had a ceremony to pass it on.
All right. But Maple Leaf John Tavares has been endorsing something called the Magic Amulet. Mm-hmm. That it's I think I saw this. Russell Brand is claiming it reduces radiation from Wi-Fi and 5G networks. Dan,
good,
has received the endorsement of Toronto Maple Leafs John Tavares and the Raptors RJ Barrett.
So he just is a piece of metal. It attracts all the things and protects you or some stupid thing?
I guess. Yeah, it's a magic amulet.
Well, it's magic.
And it's priced. Here's what's magic about it. The makers claim it protects wearers from electromagnetic radiation, and it's priced between $125 and $483.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. I wonder if it works.
Well, that radiation exists naturally, I believe. Mm-hmm. Electromagnetic radiation is kind of all around us anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, if it protects us from all this harmful radiation, why not spend $480 on it?
And how does it work?
I don't.
It's like a suit.
It's like a vacuum cleaner.
Well, that's what they say. It's like an amulet. It's like a thing you wear around your neck.
Oh, okay.
Fuck.
Like those rings people wear for arthritis and stuff. Oh,
absolutely. Okay. Or bracelets of copper for arthritis as well. I used to see that everywhere. Tavares says he's seen tremendous benefits from it since discovering it 4 years ago. Really? I'm sure a Leaf fan would be like, really? What are those benefits, former Captain John?
Yeah. And what else is he going to say? I wonder what they're paying him.
Yeah.
But, nah.
I wonder if it wears out. You think it wears out?
You have to replace it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or, it gets full. too much radiation in it, and then it starts to
we mock it now, but when they finally fire off a nuke, we're all going to wish we had amulets.
Well, it almost sounds too good to be true. Hey, doesn't it? One other sports note. Guess what I watched some of yesterday?
Golf?
Huh?
Golf?
No, WCT. And I couldn't believe it. It was televised, and it was from the UK.
Let me see if I can.
And people were going crazy.
The World Cricket?
Have you ever watched from the UK darts, how the people go crazy when they're playing darts?
I've seen that.
Well, this is, it's fascinating to watch. Anyway, world-class tag. Grown men playing tag.
World-class tag?
Tag.
Like tag, you're it, then you run away and hide it. Hide behind some bushes.
Tagging?
They have this obstacle course thing, and you get so much time, and you got to try and touch the guy. I swear to God. And I was fascinated. I watched it for about 20 minutes. But again, the most fascinating part was the crowd, going nuts. And and you have these professional tag guys, and they're just running around trying to touch each other. It was amazing. Amazing.
Sure? Wait a second. Are you sure?
I've never seen it before.
Are you sure that wasn't on Pornhub?
No.
So a bunch of guys running around trying to touch each other.
Just Google it. Google it.
You Google it.
Is this a small town in Croatia or something this is happening in? Or
no, I said it was UK. It was England. Where I watched this one from, and it was guys standing in the crowd and shaking their arms and screaming at the top of their lungs. It was something, and a lot, thousands of people.
Did they have aerial drone shots and things too?
Yeah,
sort of.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I've never heard of that. Isn't it great, Dan, to wake up each day and with the possibility you're going to hear about something you've never heard of before? Now we have. I have no idea that tag was a sport. Do you have any, Frederick, do you have any more?
Yes, Howard.
Well, tell you what, why don't we do that before the Dan Duran news? I believe it's the retirement Sherpa.
Yes, Tim Niblett is a
wonderful.
Tim Niblett is a portfolio manager. Portfolio manager. Raymond James, a member of the Canadian Investors Protection Fund. Standing offer, Tim or Sherpa J. If you have a portfolio, they will have a look at it. No cost, no obligation, no strings attached. They will look at it and give you an assessment. Sometimes it's good to have, somebody else look at your stuff to get their opinion. Are you on the right track? Could you do better? And again, if it looks good, they'll tell you. They'll give you the straight goods, and you can continue on with whoever. However, on the other side of it, if there's some problems, they will let you know, and you can take it from there. It's a great offer. Take advantage of it. RetirementSherpa.ca.
What is the name of this organization? The tag organization?
World Class Tag.
So W World
CT.
World Class Tag.
I used to chase Howard around the radio station.
That's right, Dan did. Dan would try because I would chirp him and he would try and hurt me. Yeah. World Class Tag Home. Yeah.
He'd be in crazy. A maid's outfit, right?
He'd be what?
You'd be in a maid's outfit.
That's right.
And Dan would chase you around.
Yes, I would. Wow. I would dress up in one of Dan's favorite costumes. Yeah, this is crazy. featured on Bloomberg, Next in Sport. Wow.
Crazy, eh?
That is crazy. ESPN, NBC Sports are part of their sponsor role here. It's crazy.
True sign of end of days, isn't it?
Maybe. But listen, we learned something new today, and that's not every day. Here's another opportunity to be informed, everybody, with, of course, this fellow.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low.
Ho!
Dan Duran, the anchorman comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now live from a very expensive hotel room in Montreal. I see in the background is that a bottle of wine that was being consumed in the...
No, that's the, comes with the hotel room. You touch that bottle and all of a sudden it's another $50 or something.
Ah, okay. All right.
So it's like
well, here he is, a man on the move. It's Anchorman Dan Duran.
Elon Musk is likely breaking the law and signing up Republican voters with $1 million a day prize, while Trump saw a close-up how his food was made as he did a short shift at McDo's, as they say here in Quebec. And Trump is hawking Swiss-made watches that are not Swiss-made and are coming from a Viagra-laced honey company in Wyoming. Here in Canada, did you know that there was an election in BC? As they continue to count votes, the premier is still going to be the premier, but not with a majority. Can you name the premier?
Could I name the premier of... Is it Christy Clark?
Nope.
Oh, that's a former premier.
Nope. We're spending all the time...
Bob Nicholson.
Yes, it was David Eby.
Oh, David Eby.
Oh, David Eby, yes.
Yeah, David Eby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christy Clark was the premier of BC.
Yes.
All right.
I think she's putting her hat in the ring for...
she wants to take over Trudeau's job.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
It's shit. Of all the things you could do with it, shit has finally come up. It's a toilet cam shooting your shit for AI analysis. The company is called Throne and is selling a smart camera that is attached to the toilet bowl, and it photographs the poop. Then a physician-trained AI examines it and provides data on users' gut health and hydration and offers nutritional advice. Privacy, of course, is a concern, so Throne assures the users that the camera only points down into the bowl. Okay, and only registers the data if a known user is in Bluetooth proximity. It's a new thing. This AI crap cam will be available for $700, $400 for early adopters.
Does this help with colon cancer or not? Or just can it examine it to the point that I can see, micro dots of blood in the stool?
I do not know the answer to that. It's early days on providing this data. So, but gut health, perhaps it may. Maybe that's an add-on. You can pay a little extra for that.
So it's positioned down, but if you have a big, long sack on you, it's still going to catch some of that.
It might catch some sack, Dan.
Some dangly
sack. Well, and as with your advanced age and whatever you got going on down there, your sack has got to be like completely distended. But as often happens,
to do with it.
Oh yeah, he's got to wrap it around one of his legs.
Oh, wrap it.
As often happens on this program, somebody will bring up something and somebody else will go, "Oh, well, this is a coincidence." The other day, this fellow, well, he and I have been corresponding about Metamucil and Psyllium, and do you know what's coming? Did he send you these pictures too?
Come on! No.
This is a grown.
I don't have that type of relationship with him.
Oh, I don't. Well, lucky me, I do. He and I have been discussing gut health for a while, and so on Friday at 7:58 a.m. How have your stools been? He says 7:58 a.m. How have your stools been? You still on the Metamucil? I respond, they are firming up and plentiful. Perfect, he says. Maybe get Boone to post some pics on Facebook and let's start ranking them. I respond, good idea. Then several hours later, at 11:32 a.m., I get 2 photographs of a fucking log of shit in a toilet. This should be the benchmark, says Yee Man.
I'm glad I don't want
And that's
that.
where I left the conversation. I was like, okay.
You left
Do you
it
think
hanging.
they're authentic? They're his?
Does it matter at this point?
Well, no, that's what I mean. Like, would he actually do that, or would he just, like, Google pictures of poop in a toilet and send it to you?
Well, I can't tell from these photographs. You know, I hadn't. Maybe I'll follow up today and say that we were talking about this. He'll hear this, and maybe he'll tell us if they're his or did he just find some random pictures of shit.
You know, there's a
Send it to
picture
me.
of him years and years and years ago at the trailer. I think their dog Ripper had a big log on the grass in front of their trailer. So he laid down beside it and was like 6 inches or so away from it looking at it. And then, I don't know if he got Lori to take the picture or whatever, but it was a picture of... Did you ever see that one, Dan?
No, I never saw that one.
Yeah. And it was, it was interesting. I didn't imagine that. I didn't dream that. It just came back to me now. It exists. I'm sure it does.
Well,
so, you know, he's comfortable with that.
Oh, he's very comfortable. And you know, when we left here last Thursday, and, you know, we're going to take a few days away from each other, I did not have... I've got pictures of Darren's shit on my bingo card. So there you go.
Do a morning tradesies. Every morning, you know,
Anyway, thanks to David Eisenstadt. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to you. Dan Duran, safe travels. Tomorrow, Maureen Holloway will be our guest. We'll find out what Mo's been up to, including this great story. What I saw, she has a Substack, one of these little blog things, and she wrote a story about her family getting ripped off in a way that a lot of people have heard of, or, you know, like a little credit card type of fraudy thing. It'll be an interesting story when Maureen joins us tomorrow. In the meantime, Dan Duran, safe travels home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this episode of the legendary Humble and Fred Show was brought to you by the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Boron One, Bodog, our newest sponsor, Ridley Funeral Home, and Kelsey's Original Roadhouse. For contests and comments, we read all of those emails. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. That's Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. Tell us what you think and subscribe to the podcast. Tell people about it. Maybe rate a podcast as well. From the Dave Powery Zoom Theater, I'm Dan Duran. And remember, even if your shit's not photogenic, go out there and enjoy every goddamn day.
Clap your hands.